but I want you to myself.
Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another MPC Key 61 video. I'm going to turn this on, and in today's video we are going to be building a beat together, and if we're lucky we'll turn it into a song. I'm going to walk you through at least my workflow of recording a beat and kind of how I'm going to go about setting up the tracks and all of that. And if you're new, welcome to the channel. My name is Douglas, and if you're interested in learning more about the MPC Key 61 and you want to subscribe, go ahead. I'm going to be putting a lot of effort into putting videos out on how to use this keyboard in a lot of different ways, comparing it to my Nord Stage 3, comparing sounds against other virtual instruments, as well as just how to use all of the extensive functionality that's here. So I've got a really simple setup here. I've got just my sustain pedal plugged in, obviously the power cord, and then left and right out of the keyboard into my Focusrite interface, which is being recorded by Pro Tools, just helps me sync up the audio and do better audio in the video. And then I have my microphone here plugged into the audio interface in the back of the MPC Key 61. We're going to use that to record an audio track or two as we get down the road here. So when you turn on the MPC Key 61, you're going to be presented with this welcome page, and there's a couple of different variations of this, but regardless of which one you get, you should have a button down here that says Empty Project. Go ahead and tap that. It's going to load up an empty project. It's going to have about 4 tracks in it, all assigned to this synth sound. Let me put my headphones on here so I can actually hear what I'm playing. We can sample what's here. That's currently what's assigned to our track. And if we want to get into the track view and start taking a look at how we set up our sequence, we can do this a couple of different ways. The fastest is just to tap on this main button here, which brings us over to our project and our sequence. Or if we're in, let's say, the sound view, we can tap this icon in the upper left, and then we can go to main mode, and that brings us to that same place. So now that we're here, let's go ahead and name our sequence, and we're just gonna call this Song Demo, and we're gonna go ahead and save that. And then under our track 1, there's a couple of ways that we can go about setting up a song before we record. One way would be to just do it on the fly. So the way that this platform works is I can go in, I can record or arm for record, I can hit play, I can mess around, figure out what sound I want, all while turning the arm on and off for the overdub. So it'll continue to loop through the beat, and I can turn arm on, record a bit, turn it off, go to another track, and you can do all of that in this continuous cycle. We're going to kind of do that, but what we're going to do is we're going to set up our tracks ahead of time. And this will save us some time, that especially so you don't have to hear the song 100 times as we record it. So we're going to do a few things to set this up. First of all, we're going to change our beats per minute, the tempo of our track, to 90. And to do this, we have a few different options. We can tap tempo over here. We can also double tap on the value, and we can punch in 90 and do it. We can also use this rotary dial. And so a lot of different ways. You can also get to that entry screen by pushing down on the rotary dial. So in any of the fields, whether you double tap them or you press down on this encoder, you're going to get the same result. So let's say we go to track, press down, we get our listing of tracks. We could double tap on it and we get that same list. So that goes for all of those fields per se. And so what we're going to want to do here is also set our bars to 8. We could scroll, again, we could double tap, we could type in 8. I do 8 because it gives me a little bit more room for variation before it loops again. And you could do 4, 8, whatever your preference is there. And so that's kind of our initial setup. We do want to make sure that metronome's on. So this button here turns metronome on and off, and we can actually hold shift, go into metronome, and we can set up the count in, we can set up whether it only plays when we're playing, whether we're recording, or both, and then we can change the sound, the volume, and all of that right here. So I'm going to X out of that, we're going to leave that on, and then let's go ahead and name our first track. So we've got track 1 here, and we're going to call this Piano, and let's go ahead and select a piano sound here. So we're going to click on Sounds. A few different ways, again, we could do this. We could go select the plugin and then the preset here, but in our case, I think it's nice to just go to Sounds, Stage Piano. Let's go with Reflection, and then we're going to click on Edit Instrument. I'm going to do a little bit of modification here. So let's turn on Hammer Falls. The knobs on the screen, you can either tap on them and then turn your big encoder here, or you can just click and drag, and that brings the value up or down really quick. I love that about this. Love it. I love it. So that sounds great to me. Let's go back to our main song view here. I'm going to leave that there, and we're going to tap on piano, and we're just going to scroll to the right to track 2. Let's go ahead and name this bass. And so again, you could do this on the fly as you're recording, but for me, I'm just going to set these up ahead of time. I'm going to go into sounds, bass line. Let's just choose fat sign here. Beautiful. Go back to our main view here. Let's tap on this track and go to the third one. And let's call this strings. Do it. Sounds. Let's go into studio strings. Let's go to solo. And In the Fog is a really nice one. Has really nice delay and reverb on there. I'm not going to do any modifications to that. We're going to go back here. I'm going to go to track 4. I'm going to tap on this. And let's go ahead and have this be like a pluck sort of sound. So we're going to say pluck. I'm going to say do it. I like how they have do it instead of okay or things like that. Again, we're going to go to our sounds. Let's go to Fabric XL, go into our plucks, and let's choose maybe this one. That'll be cool. So we're going to go over to track 5 now, and if you don't have a plugin program, you may have to click this little plus icon, and it'll create a new plugin program that you can assign to that track. Otherwise, like if we went back to plugin program number 4, that's already assigned to Pretty Bones because that's what we assign on track 4. So we're going to grab plugin 5 to correspond with our track 5, and let's modify the name of this to maybe electric guitar. And we'll just say E guitar. And let's go in and select, we'll go to Fabric XL, go over to electric guitars, and let's try Edge. I like that. All right, again, we're going to go to track 6. Let's name this one Lead. Whoops, Lead. And let's go in and select a hype lead here. Now it warns us this program is used in 2 tracks. If you replace this program, it's going to replace the other track. We don't want to do that. I'm going to hit cancel and go back to our track, and notice how it didn't increment our plugin. So I have to actually go to plugin 6, or if you don't have an available one, just tap this little plus icon here. It'll add a new plugin program they can associate a new one with. So we can go to sounds. Let's go into hype, and let's check out some leads here. This one's. I like that. That's good. And let's go to 7, and we want a drum track. And instead of using a plugin, we're going to actually use a drum program. To do this, we can go and select, change the track type, and actually let's first call this drums. And then right now we're on track type plugin. Let's go tap on the drum, and you'll notice we can now select a drum program. So we don't really have any. So we're going to go to assign samples and then browse. And then we're going to go in here, and there's a lot of different presets in here. I'm going to use Chilled Trap Kit Chill 5. You can sample these by pressing this little play button and holding it. But we're going to go with number 5, and I'm just going to tap on this load button. That's going to load that drum program into my project. And then I can go back to my track view, and we can actually select this as our program here. Pretty cool. I love it. So that's our basic setup. Now we're going to also record an audio track or 2. MPC separates these into 2 different sections. So MIDI and then audio is where we'll do that. So let's go ahead and record our beat. We're going to start with track 1, piano. What we're going to do is it's nice because they add the shift button here and here. So if you're over here, you can use the shift button there, and here you can use it here to go back to the very beginning of your sequence, hold Shift and tap on the stop button, and that's going to return you back to the very beginning. I do that just from the start because I want to make sure I'm starting from the beginning. We have a little bar up here that you'll notice. It's a little red bar that as we play, that's going to increment to show us kind of where we're at in our beat. So what we're going to do is tap on record and then play. That's going to give us a 4-beat count in, and then we can get to recording. Then we can switch to our bass track, and this is still recording it. Switch to overdub. So now we can just start playing our bass. We can switch to our strings. We can move over to our pluck. Go over to our electric guitar. Gonna wait for this measure to finish out. Switch to our lead. We're gonna wait for the entire thing to start so I can get this lead part down. Now we can switch over to our drum track. Let's give this a little. Yep. So we're gonna start with a kick, and then we're gonna layer as it loops through. Now we're gonna do our hi-hat, and I'm gonna go to time correct. We're on 16th, so we're good there. So when this comes back in again, we'll do our hi-hat. So now we're gonna go into mix. And if we just hold down on one of these, you're gonna see we have the volume for the first 4 tracks. You could tap here, and there we've got the volume for the rest of our tracks, right? So if we come back to here, so we're gonna do a little mixing here. So there we've just kind of recorded our bass beat. And now we're gonna add some audio. So to do this, let's go back to our main track and tap on the audio. And then we're gonna go to input configuration. And we're gonna select input 1 here because we only have our microphone plugged into that one input. So if I do a check, check, 1, 2, you can see I've got a level there. And instead of being a left and right, it's both kind of a mono stereo type track there. And then we could affect our gain on the back here. So we could bring that up. And then down here on the bottom, we can turn our monitoring off or on. So I'm gonna just leave that on. I'm gonna bring my gain knob down just a little bit there. And we're gonna record some vocals here. Tap on record, play. It's gonna give us a 4-beat count in, and then we're good to go. Everybody knows your name, but I want you to myself. Everybody knows your name, but I want you to myself. So we're gonna stop that, and it's gonna continue to loop through that. But let's go ahead and add some effects here. So we're gonna tap on the insert. We don't have to listen to it to do it. Let's go in. We're just gonna add a delay. And notice that the vocals are live because we're using that monitor back. And then we can also use this touch thing to do the effects on our vocals as well. So really cool that you can do all of that live and it translates. Obviously, this is kind of annoying, but anyway. Bring the mix down and let's go to our effect 2. And let's do a reverb medium on that. Let's go here and let's see, check, check, 1, 2. I think that'll work for our reverb here. So let's go back to our mix view, which is this mix button up here. I didn't describe that earlier. And notice that our monitor is set. So now if we turn that off, we don't hear that through there anymore. So let's go over and record another track here. So now if I go back to the beginning here, we have our 2 audio tracks here. If we go up to the top again, we can go to our MIDI tracks and we can see everything there. So what's really cool about this is we can now go into our main menu here. And if we tap on this home button, it's gonna bring us to this bigger, larger menu screen, and we can go to track mute. Now, one thing with track mute is it only affects your MIDI tracks, not your audio tracks. But you'll notice I have all of my 7 tracks here, and the pads here correspond. So if I tap on them, now they're all red, which means they're all muted. So the only thing that's gonna play are my audio tracks. But I want you to myself. And then I can unmute or mute my MIDI tracks to build my song. So let's talk about that a little bit more. like kill the effects. You can double tap on stop and it does a hard cut. So a little tip here, if we wanted to actually take this beat and build it into a song, which for the sake of time, I have decided I will leave that for another video. But what we can do is we can go into our song here and we can click on this little edit icon beside our sequence, and then we can double or half the length of our beat, and it's gonna copy what we've recorded into those extra lengths. So we could take this from 8 bars to 64, and then we can record the automation of muting and unmuting the tracks to actually build the song based on what we want to play. One thing to note as well before we do this is normally you would do the track mute piece before you record the vocals. Unless you're doing the vocals as a sample, then you'd use a sampler and record it as a sample that you can trigger. So in that case, it would be a MIDI track that you'd be triggering the sample. But for the audio tracks, generally you'd build the beat, then you'd build the song, and then you'd record your audio tracks with your vocals. And that would be kind of your way of doing looping plus multi-tracking. You could also start with a long, many bars and just multi-track it without looping. Definitely possible here. Again, a bunch of videos to come on that. But here's an example of what you could do with the track mutes by just kind of unmuting and muting them to kind of build your song.
Everybody knows your name, but I want you to myself. Everybody knows your name, but I want you to myself. Everybody knows your name, but I want you to myself. Everybody knows your name, but I want you to myself. Everybody knows your name, but I want you to myself. Everybody knows your name, but I want you to myself. Everybody knows.
And there you go. You get the idea. I was just unmuting and muting those pads to basically build my song. And you would do that while recording the automation, which is the non-note stuff you're doing, like volume, all of that, recording that automation, and that would build your song. So I hope that gives you just a little scratching of the surface of how to record a beat in the MPC Key 61, how to record audio, and then a little bit on effects. Obviously, we have a ton of videos that I'm gonna be diving into kind of each one of these functions that I just brushed the surface on. But I wanted to give those of you who are looking to pick up this keyboard or just picked it up an idea of what's possible without much effort. So obviously in this video alone, we built that. I only messed around with this for couple of hours kind of teaching myself the various functions of the keyboard. I find it extremely inspiring and I hope you guys do too. Again, if you have questions, throw those down in the comments below. I apologize that I wasn't able to in this video to go into extreme depth on some of these things, but those are to come. So be on the lookout for those. One last thing that I forgot to mention in the video is how to save the project you just recorded. I thought that was important, so I'm just doing a little clip here to show you. But what you're gonna wanna do is when you're in your main view, go up to the top, tap on the home, and you're gonna see these buttons down here. Go ahead and tap on the save button. And it gives you an option of the different things you can save, whether it's an audio mix down, sequence, things like that. We're gonna just do project. And you could always do project save as if you wanted to save a copy. But what we can do is we can name our file name here. So we could say project, and you could pick a folder. So I created my own folder. You can do that down here, new folder, and I put it in the internal storage, and then you just tap on save. Saves everything we did to that directory. And then we could always pull that later, open it up later, those sorts of things. So I just wanted to throw that in here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay inspired and keep making that music.